Hello, we are going live today. This is our third this week. We're going to do two more this week until June 7th. Felicia, Ballin and Bipolar. Remember, I'm going to update you on the book really quickly. Be happy or get the F out. The link is above. It is going to be sale on Amazon. The Kindle version is 99 cents only until Friday. That price should be going up to like $6, I think, after that. So go ahead and grab that copy. You do not have to have Kindle to get that. I think you can just get an app on your phone and the book is there. Paperback version is $8. If you want to grab that, it's really pretty. It looks like this. So what I wanted to do on these lives, if anybody does join, nobody's joined right now, but if anybody does, give me a like and throw a comment in so that I see you. If you have any questions for me about you, struggles, anything like that, let me know and we can really open this up for questions and things like that. What I'm going to do is I would like to build this community and I will do lives once a week. And we can kind of hop in and do Q&A and all that good stuff. So what we're going to talk today about is depression. I think that this is a really big area for people that are not bipolar. The whole book isn't even for just bipolar people. I wrote it for bipolar because that was my story, but really you can plug it into any kind of trauma and like rebuilding your life after trauma. That's basically what the whole thing is. I've been told by multiple people that it's helped them and they're not bipolar. I have a lot of people and friends that have bought it and it's helped them. So just wanted to reiterate that. Depression is tough. I think that depression can be misunderstood though. I think that a lot of people think that when they have depression, you have to wait until depression like leaves. And it feels that way, but it's not necessarily how we have to live. Okay. I was reading a book recently by a doctor who has treated hundreds of patients that have been depressed. And he said in the book, which just solidified everything that I teach, he said, depression does turn off like a chemical in your brain. And what that does is it creates unmotivation. It creates hopelessness. It creates things that tell you not to live your life. Go lay in bed, things like that. He even said depression lies. Depression lies to you, but we can combat that. So just because you're depressed does not mean you accept depression and let it lie on top of you. Now, I'm going to have a lot of people that are going to be like, you don't understand. Depression is debilitating. It is, and it is not in your head. It is a thing. It is a disorder. But that does not mean you have to live with that all the time. It doesn't mean that you don't fight back. Period, point blank. I've been there. I've done that. I've gotten the t-shirt. Like, I've been clinically depressed. I have been depressed off and on. I'm bipolar 1. Like it's not just mania that I suffered with. It's both. So don't get me wrong there. I want to go over first, what is depression? And this is from WebMD. So I just wanted to go through like clear what is depression and what does it do to the brain. So depression is a mental disorder that affects the way we feel, think, and perceive the world. That's a big piece because the perspective is everything. And if you perceive the world in a way where it's depression and guilt and blame and everything is wrong, like that's what depression can do. Now, what happens is you get sad, irritable, you're empty, hopeless. You lose pleasure in what you used to find pleasure in. Decreased energy. I'm sure your sex drive can go way low. Slow moving, loss of interest in life, no motivation. As you can imagine, things can get much, much worse if we don't catch this thing. And if we don't handle it, if we don't take control over it. There's a lot of people that have suffered here and don't make it. So if you've made it here, you made it. Let's get out of this thing and let's find real tools that we can use. Because if you think, there's been so many people that have been depressed but have gotten out of it and that live happy, fulfilled lives. If that is true, that means that there is a solution for depression. Do you guys understand that? So if you can believe that other people have been depressed and those other people are not special, that means that you can get out of it too and you can be happy, you can be fulfilled. Now, trauma is different. Everybody's trauma is different. There's a lot of people that not only have depression or bipolar, but they have had major trauma, suffering from loss or abuse or any kind of trauma can onset depression. So keep that in mind, but there's also tools for trauma. PTSD and therapy and EMDR, like there's so many tools that we can help with trauma, and then therefore it helps with our depression too. So keep that in mind as we go. Now, what I wanted to know was, what does depression actually do to the brain? Now, I didn't write down all the hippocampus and all that. I didn't write down all those words. Basically, the information you need to know is the brain in different areas can shrink when depression comes on. And when these things shrink in your brain, that therefore leads to the side effects that are depression. So when something is like, think about it like, this is how I think about it, because I'm not sciencey. So you want to see the big picture. Think about your brain and it's lit up. Now, in mania, it's probably like, bzzz, right? And everything's like blasting. When depression comes on, that thing shrinks, and there's like different sides of your brain that can actually shrink, where it turns off these mechanisms that keep us motivated. So in the book that I read, he didn't say all the technical terms, but his point was, what depression does is like turns down a switch in our brain that normal people have that keep them motivated and keep them doing life. Normal people don't have a problem taking showers, and they have probably a positive outlook on life, and they can do all the things in their day. And what depression does is it turns that down to where we're unmotivated, we feel hopeless, we feel like our energy is depleted, we feel like a mute, we feel like there's two sides of depression. You can be very, very emotional and just crying for no reason. I don't know, make it stop. Or you can have no emotion. And I call it the flat line of depression. And so those aspects are a little bit different, but like it's the same. So it can cause anxiety, guilt, blame, anger, things like that. So what you need to just take away from that is understanding depression really does do something to your brain. It's not just like a mindset. It's not just like, oh, it's all in your head. Have you ever heard people who don't like understand depression and they're like, it's all in your head, like get out of that? That's not necessarily only what it is. Now, there are many, many things that we can do to turn that switch back on. Just because that switch is turned off with depression doesn't mean that we can fight back and we can't get that light back on. It's happened far too many times for that to not be true. And my psychiatrist told me, he said, when you are depressed, while that mechanism is turned down, when you do things to get out of it, it's like it slowly turns back up. Like that is proven that can happen. And if anybody has gotten out of clinical depression, their light turns back on. Like what I told you guys in another live, when I feel depressed, it's like flatline, or I'm really emotional and it's like all my mistakes are just staring at me in the face, and I cry for no reason and I feel debilitated. But it's knowing what not to do and knowing what to do. So let's get into that. Basic solutions for depression, okay, are going to be medications, finding the right doctors, trusted psychiatrists who can help you find the right medications. Because again, I cannot stress this enough. Medication is not one size fits all. It is a process. If you get on an antidepressant and you test it out for about 30 to 60 days, and if you feel worse, something is not working. If you feel good, the medication is working. So a lot of people, and this is kind of a caveat, this is like a sidebar. A lot of people, and this happened to me one time, a lot of people get to feeling good and think that they can get off their meds. While they've been on meds for years and they feel really good, somehow they think they don't need meds anymore because they're doing really well. And people are like, it's because the meds are working. Like, why would you fix what ain't broke? If you're on meds consistently and you don't feel shitty and you're not manic and you're pretty level, like the meds are doing their job. You know what I mean? And so keep that in mind with medication. Now, that doesn't mean that it's all going to work out perfectly fine the first time you try meds. If something is happening where you feel worse, go to your doctor right away, okay? And use these tools so it doesn't go way too low. Therapy is awesome. I'm a fan of therapy. It's like, if you like talking about yourself and if you want to find a solution, why would you not go to therapy? I just don't get it. So I had a guy tell me one time, I don't want people in my head. And I was like, so what are you doing? Because he lives his life very much in a negative state every day. He looks at the world, he perceives the world just negative. I don't know that he's like depressed. Maybe he is in a general sense. I don't think he has like clinical depression from my viewpoint, but I'm not a doctor. But he views the world really negatively, and he's not a happy guy. And we were talking about it one time, and he told me, like, I don't believe in medicine. I don't want somebody to get in my head and tell me how to think. And I'm like, but what are you gonna do to like be happy? And he's like, I don't know. Like, he has accepted that it is what it is. Now, if you have that mindset, I can't help you. Nobody can. Okay. So I hope and pray that you can get to a place where you are open-minded to solutions. Okay. That's what you need to be, open-minded to solutions. Look at somebody who has been where you have been, has gotten through it and is happy. Figure out what they did and go implement it. That's it. Like, my friend Allie was where I wanted to be. So I talked to her and I implemented, and here we are doing the thing. So at the same token, talk to somebody that is bipolar or has depression or has anxiety and they've gotten through it though. What did they do? At least take into account what did they do, because they did something right. Now, the next thing is, and these are basic solutions for depression, and then we'll go into like what I do if that helps. Brain stimulants. There's a lot of things that you can do to increase energy with holistic approaches. Do some research on vitamins and stimulants. Now, I'm not talking about cocaine. I'm not talking about Adderall. I'm not talking about like drugs and abusing that. I am talking about nice holistic approaches that you can increase your energy level and increase your brain activity. So like we feel better. There's a lot of things that you can do there. Again, I'm sure your psychiatrist might know. Reach out to wellness people. Wellness people know all the things. Rachel Hollis talks all the time to these people on her podcast, and they know all the things like to live a good, healthy life. So go talk to people that are just in the wellness space. I bet you 99 times out of 100, they're going to have something that you can try that's a supplement that's just over the counter. It's not a med. It's not like a controlled substance, something like that you can try. Sorry. The other thing is exercise. I can't stress this enough. Exercise is really, really important. Obviously, being a human, what exercise does for us on a bigger level. For me, it doesn't make me lose weight. What exercise does for me is it keeps me level. It helps me start my day the right way. I feel good when I'm out of breath and when I've sweat and I get my heart rate up. Now, what exercise does in a physical sense is it keeps your body going. It keeps your metabolism. It keeps your blood flow going. Like, if you work like me at a desk for freaking 10 hours a day, like, we need to get blood flow moving, because I'm lazy a lot of the time. I mean, after this, I'm going to go to my nephew's baseball game. What am I doing there? Sitting. And then after that, I'm going to get on my computer and I'm going to work, or I'm going to watch TV. In the morning, though, that's where I'm most productive. That's when I do my morning routine, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Morning routine, exercise, and what exercise does to you or does for you when you're depressed is it keeps that's a stimulant. Okay. Exercising is a stimulant. Now, when I was going through the rough, I call them the dark days. When I was going through the dark days, one of my mom's friends who is bipolar, who suffered from depression, the first thing she asked my mom, number one, medication, but she asked, is Felicia working out? There was two reasons she asked that question. She knew that I was an athlete in high school. I was a swimmer in high school, and she knew that I worked out avidly in my normal life. So she knew that working out was a part of my life and made and it made me feel better being Felicia. I worked out. That's what I did. So she knew if I wasn't doing that, there was something missing because she knew that Felicia works out. So that's one thing. It's like doing things that brought you joy before or made you feel like you before, okay? We have to like bring that spark back on, remember? Because depression turns off that kind of visibility on what we used to love. So go in that direction. The other reason she asked if I was working out was because she knows that exercise helps ward off depression or it helps you get out of depression. Now, I'm not saying you go work out one day and everything's happy go lucky. Everything is a process, okay? So being consistent and intentional about these things. Now, healthy diet. I am going to be the first one that tells you I will do great and have a healthy diet for a week and then I'll go eat McDonald's for 3 days straight. Like, what's happening? I do not have a perfect diet. In a general sense, I take my meds, I drink a lot of water, I don't eat a lot during the day, but I make sure that I've got like my protein. I make sure that I don't overdo it with carbs. In a general sense, I can do much better with my diet. Always. That's always been a struggle for me. Always. I freaking love food. So, but keep that in mind. What are you putting in your body, you all? It matters. Your physical health complements your physical health. I will say that till the cows come home. If you do not take care of and here's what I do know. I know that I might not have a perfect diet, but what I do know is when I don't take care of my body, that opens the door to depression. If you are prone to depression, and if you easily give depression a nice reason to come in, it is going to come in quicker and more frequently because we don't feel good about ourselves. If you look in the mirror and you're like, I freaking hate what I look like, perfect opportunity for depression to come knocking. It's just a perfect lead in. You know what I mean? We're trying to not lead depression in the right direction. We're trying to ward it off. So I know there is a huge point that when I treat my body like crap, I feel like crap. You know what I mean? And so depression can seep in. Now, I'm not even saying that when there's like a hinge of depression, again, I keep saying hinge. I need to look that up if that's even a word. I don't know. If there's a tip of depression coming in, it is not clinical depression. I know what freaking clinical depression is, all right? But there's still that gray cloud that can seep in. And what it does is it makes me feel really like, that stale face emoji? That's what I feel like. Just like, ugh, like nobody wants to feel that way. So take care of your body. One of my mantras in the morning is, and you all might laugh. One of my mantras in the morning is like, I love my body, therefore I fuel my body and I give it energy. I fuel my body and I give it energy because I love my body. So like, think about that. Take care of your body. What are we putting into it? Are we eating crap all the time? Or are we putting nice vitamins in there? Are we fueling our body? Like that matters. That helps your brain. Have you ever thought about really healthy people and they're always energized and they're always happy? And then us over here, we're like, oh, must be nice. It's like, well, they probably take what they do is hard work, So take that into account. Now, and I'm not saying by any means that like skinny people are happy. That was not the point at all to that comment. I'm just saying when you look at like really healthy people that take care of themselves and takes care of their bodies and puts fuel in their bodies, a lot of the time they have really good energy. That does not mean they don't suffer with depression. Like, not saying that. That was not the route I wanted to go. Just to reiterate. Now, what we're talking about on solutions to depression, that was the basic thing. For me, what works the best is distraction. Period, point blank, it's distraction. You want to distract your mind so that you don't continue over analyzing and thinking about how depressed you are. It almost sounds so common sense that it's almost like too hard to believe because you're like, that seems too simple. It is that simple. Like, if you sit here and you go to bed or you lay on your couch, not only are we feeding depression, but you keep thinking about how depressed you are and how angry you are and how shitty you feel. And like, it's a loop. It is a loop. What, what are we supposed to do? Just wait until depression decides to leave? I don't have time for that. This happened recently. This is a perfect, this is a perfect example about distraction. And I told you about the teaching my nephew how to ride a bike. That was my first live. I think we did Saturday, maybe the 31st or something. I don't know. The 1st of June. You can go take a look at that. Um, but another time, this was recently. This is in the last year, I think. This is anyway. It doesn't matter. This is in the last year. I was sitting at work, just here, and all of a sudden, this wave comes over me like depression does. Nothing had happened. I didn't have a bad day. It was just this weird wave of like, that's what I felt like. Like, I felt like my energy was just depleted. And I had been working on a lot then. I was working on the business and writing the book. And like, my energy probably was depleted, but usually I wouldn't feel like that. You know, I wouldn't feel just like, that's how I felt. I felt really like boring. I had nothing to give. I was just like, and I did not feel right. And there's a difference between having a blah day and being depressed. Having a blah day is like when you're tired and you're just like, oh my God, blah, 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 life. That's a blah day. Now, being in a funk, that's not depression. Being in a funk is different. I've been in funks all the time. We get in a funk and we have to get out of the funk. Now, depression is like you can feel it. You feel different. You feel a wave. Blah blah blah. If you've been depressed, you get it. And what I knew I did not want to do that day was because I was gonna this current day. It was a Monday. I always remember when I have depression come on because I'm like I remember that. This current day, my nephew had football practice that night. It was a Monday, and it was about 4 o'clock when this wave kind of came over me, and I was like, oh my gosh. So the first instinct I had was, oh, skip football, like go and lay on the couch. And I was like, no, I cannot do that because tomorrow I'll wake up depressed too, and I don't have time for it. I'm in sales. I need to be boom, like ready to go for my day. Like I cannot be depressed. So, or I can't have this like progress into like more depression. So I was like, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to football. I'm going to get sunlight and fresh air. I'm going to watch my little nephew play football. I'm going to be around people. Then what happened was when I got home, my friend called me. That's the universe listening. If you're doing the next right thing, the next right thing usually happens. Not saying that trauma doesn't happen, not saying that stupid things don't happen, not saying that. But usually when you're asking for help and when you're trying to go in the right direction, things happen the right way. I always say when you do the next right thing, usually the next right thing will happen, but could take time. This specific day, when I got home from football practice is about 2 hours. When I got home, I felt light. I didn't feel perfect, but I felt lighter though. I did not feel as bad as I did a couple hours earlier because there's something to be said about fresh air and sunlight and like distraction. My mind, what you have to understand is my mind was not sitting there saying, I hate my life. I'm depressed. I'm depressed. I'm depressed. I was focused on football. I was focused on watching my nephew have a good time at practice. That's where my energy went. That's where my brain went. It was a distraction. Okay. Then what happened was my friend called me. And if she was the perfect person to talk to at that point in time, because I shared with her, I was like, man, I don't know what's going on. And she said, you need to take a beat. You need to do some self-care. And that was what I needed to hear. She was like, you need to do some self-care. You need to wash your face, do a face mask, like relax tonight and like go back to basics. That's what it is. Like do what you feel is going to make you feel better. Again, going to sit on the couch was not the solution. I needed to like take a shower, feel clean, do some self-care, think about what I needed. Do I need to like listen to a book or a pocket, something? That's what it's about. It's knowing what not to do, but it's knowing what to do. Distraction is it. Again, this was confirmed by a doctor. This was confirmed by a doctor who has worked with many people that are depressed. This has worked for other people that are depressed. It's all about distraction. Jennifer Lewis, she is an actress and she is bipolar very publicly. And if you go look her up, she has an awesome quote and it's in my book. And she said, this was on my Instagram feed. That's what we're going to talk about is media as well. But my Instagram feed had her on there because it's all about like motivation and all that crap. But she said, don't you go sit in your room, in the dark room by yourself and waste your life. Don't do it. You know, that's just feeding everything. You've got to act. And it's hard being depressed, but it is easy to not fight back. It is very easy to go lay on the couch. It is much easier to go to bed and then complain about being depressed. It is hard as hell when you're depressed to fight that. So choose your hard, man. I mean, what do you want to be depressed? I know you don't want to be depressed, but you got to fight for it. You got to do something about it. Our next phase. So we've gotten what to do, what not to do. Oh, this was another thing that I wanted to bring up. Let me write this down about media too. Depression lies to you. So part of depression's job is to tell you lies. It will tell you that this is debilitating. You need to not, go out or do anything, or you cannot do anything. Now, it will tell you like things like this, as simple as this. You can't do the laundry. You're incapable of going to do the laundry. You are incapable of taking care of your kids. That's a lie. So like depression could tell you like you're incapable of going to take a shower. Okay. But like, unless you're paralyzed or like don't have legs and you need assistance or something like that, you actually can. You have to fight your mind. You have to fight your mind and be like, actually, I can. Depression, get the F out of here. Be happy or get the F out. You know what I'm saying? That's my book. Holler at me. But that's what it is. You have to fight this thing and be like, nope, I'm stronger than this. If you have that belief system, you can be stronger than this thing ever was or ever can be. But you have to premeditate. You have to be premeditated and intentional all the time. Now, the next thing that I wanted to touch on was media, social media or otherwise. Be very careful. I think that people don't even know how subconsciously social media affects our anxiety and depression. Think about this. If I looked up, hold on, let me get some water. Y'all know I get thirsty. If we looked up the statistics from when Facebook started, from when it became huge, and then we had Twitter, and then we had Instagram, and then we had all these things, Snapchat, and all this freaking media, and all this comparison of life, and seeing the Kardashians, and seeing how perfect other people's lives are, and you think you're behind. If you look up the statistics from before social media was a thing until now, look up the suicide rates. It is freaking insane. It is sickening. It has to be related to social media. I think social media can be used for good. Obviously, I think this is good. You have to find the right media that actually is going to help you and support you. If you are here's what I don't do on social media. Here's what I do on social media. I do have a personal Facebook page and I'll post, like pictures of my nephew, like whatever, like the normal. I use it for business. I run ads on Facebook, content, this kind of stuff to build us a community and things like that for you guys to know. Blah, 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 blah. Podcasts are awesome. If you listen to the right podcast. I use social media in that way. Now, Instagram, I do like a little bit better because I have created, my algorithm is all about business and motivation. Like that's all my feed is business motivation. And I love that. It's about like sales trainings. It's about like being an entrepreneur. It's that side. So while I try not to scroll social media, at least Instagram has things that can feed my soul. Okay. If you're a person that scrolls social media all the time, be aware that is affecting your anxiety and your depression, and you might not even know it. You don't see videos and automatically are depressed. You might, that can happen. If you see the girl down the road or your friend from high school and she's doing great, first of all, social media is a highlight to your life. It is not the real life. It's not really what's going on. Have you ever seen people like announce everything and then they're like divorced a week later? Like, it's not real, you guys. It's not real. So please be aware of social media, what not to do. Try to not just sit there and scroll on random media and like stay on social media. And the other thing about that is people live their life looking for likes. They are freaked out when trolls get on and they get in fights with people they don't even know. People are rude as hell on social media. Like, I'll get comments about just terrible, and I don't concern myself with it. I sometimes will say something back just to stick up for myself, but it's wild. It's nobody on the street in person would be as nasty as people can be online. So why would we pay attention to that stuff? Um, there's another component of that I wanted to say. I freaking lost my train of thought. Media, social media. Oh, be present. And I'm the worst about this too. But why don't we just like live, rather than like being in your phone? Now, what I do is I have my phone next to me intentionally for like if I have to do something for this business, blah, 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 blah. If I'm posting something for my book, um, there's a time and place. But when I go out to dinner, my phone is in my purse. It is on Do Not Disturb. When I'm with somebody, I am present in that moment. When at night from 5 to 10, like my phone is not with me. Okay. Cause we need to disconnect. We need to like be in life. We need to be present. So if you're constantly responding to everybody all the time and you're constantly on social media, like what are we doing? You know what I mean? I have a friend who is like barely on social media. She's awesome because she lives her life. She's got kids to take care of. She's not on her phone. She doesn't care about her phone. She doesn't care about social media. And guess what? She's happy. She's a happy camper because she doesn't concern herself with that. So just remember, in a digital age, be very, very conscious of what it can do to your anxiety and depression. Be conscious of that. That's what I wanted to end on. I hope you guys are doing okay out there. If you're not balling yet, you can be, you will be. We just need tools. We just need to be intentional, and we need to be premeditated and have knowledge. Knowledge is power. I hope I see you guys out there. And remember, my book is on sale for 99 cents until Friday on Kindle. And its paperback version is $8. You can go get it on Amazon. I think it's a really cool book. That's not just because I wrote it, but I'll see you guys out there. Thanks for listening.